Hello, and welcome back to From a Head Teacher's Perspective with me, Paul Urry. As leaders move from middle or senior roles into headship, they shift from focusing on parts of the system to understanding the whole. This transition marks the difference between managing improvement within an area and leading coherence across the entire school. A future head must learn to see through a new lens, a strategic lens that integrates teaching, care, and culture into a single vision of success. This unit explores how to develop that lens, how to think systematically, connect priorities, and balance the academic with the pastoral, so that every decision strengthens not just outcomes, but people. 1. Seeing the whole picture. Leadership at headship level demands a shift in vision, where once your focus may have been my class, my phase, or my subject, you now need to see the whole school as one living ecosystem. In this ecosystem, every element, teaching quality, pastoral care, staff well-being, curriculum design, attendance, safeguarding, enrichment, and communication is interconnected. Changing one area inevitably affects another. The effective head teacher doesn't see these as separate priorities, but as expressions of the same moral purpose. Strategic leadership begins with joined up thinking, understanding that no single improvement stands alone. Developing this lens requires you to step back regularly, to look not just at your school, but through it, observing how systems, people, and values interact to create experiences and outcomes. Some questions. When you think about your current school, which areas feel most connected? Which areas operate in isolation or competition? What patterns do you notice between teaching quality, pupil well-being, and staff culture? 2. Teaching, the core of the system. Teaching remains at the heart of every school system. It is the engine through which values meet outcomes. But as head teacher, your role is not to perfect every lesson. It is to design the conditions where excellent teaching flourishes consistently and sustainably. This means focusing less on control and more on coherence. A shared understanding of what great teaching looks like, for example. Professional trust balanced with accountability. A culture where staff learn as well as pupils. Head teachers must think strategically about teaching, not as isolated performance, but as collective practice. The key question shifts from, are lessons good, to what makes great teaching possible here? Some reflections. What beliefs guide your view of high quality teaching? How do systems, timetabling, workload, CPD either support or undermine those beliefs? How will you know that teaching is improving in ways that reflect your values, not just your targets? 3. Care, the foundation of flourishing. A school that teaches well but cares poorly cannot truly succeed. Care underpins everything: emotional safety, belonging, behaviour, and relationships. It shapes the climate in which learning happens. The head teacher's strategic role is to ensure that systems of care are not reactive or fragmented, but intentional and whole school. This includes, for example, a coherent pastoral structure with clear leadership, consistent safeguarding and attendance processes, early help and inclusion pathways that empower, not stigmatize, a visible culture of empathy and respect in daily practice. Care is not soft leadership. It is moral infrastructure. It ensures that every pupil feels seen and every adult feels valued, turning ethos into experience. Teaching fills the mind, care opens it. Some reflective questions. How consistent is it between classes and year groups and staff teams in your school? How will you model care as a professional standard, not just a personal quality? 4. Culture, the atmosphere of everything. Culture is what people feel when they belong to your school. It is built slowly, lived daily, and shaped by what leaders celebrate, tolerate, and model. Head teachers cannot delegate culture. They embody it. Culture determines whether teaching and care operate in harmony or tension. It is the thread that ties the two together. Strong cultures grow from 3 conditions. Clarity of purpose. Everyone understands why the school exists and what it stands for. Consistency of behaviour. Leaders model the values they expect. Community of trust. People feel safe to innovate, question, and grow. When culture is healthy, improvement becomes self-sustaining. When it's fractured, no policy can compensate. Some questions. How would you describe the culture of your school to an outsider? What behaviours or traditions best reflect it? What daily habits would you need to model to strengthen it further? 5. Balancing teaching, care, and culture. These 3 domains, teaching, care, and culture, must exist in balance. Too much focus on one risks neglecting the others. Teaching without care, but it means pupils may perform but not flourish. Care without teaching is like compassion without challenge, warmth without rigour. Culture without clarity is enthusiasm without direction, values without measurable impact. The head teacher's strategic lens ensures these remain integrated. Every decision from recruitment to curriculum, from assembly themes to appraisal targets, should reinforce all 3. Some questions. Which of the 3 feels most developed in your leadership currently? Which might need more attention or renewal? How can you make each visible in your next school development plan? 6. The head teacher's strategic role. Strategic leadership is about connection, linking vision to action, policy to practice, and people to purpose. To develop a head teacher's strategic lens, 1. Step back regularly, create thinking time, observe the system as a whole rather than constantly operating within it. 2. Look for patterns. Analyze not just data, but relationships between curriculum and behaviour, well-being and performance, staff morale and pupil progress. 3. Ask systematic questions. What's the root cause? Where are the unintended consequences? What does this decision signal about our values? 4. Prioritize coherence over speed. Sustainable change requires alignment, not haste. Strategy is not a plan, it's a pattern of aligned decisions rooted in purpose. Some questions. How much of your current time is spent thinking strategically rather than operationally? What structures could you build into your routine to protect strategic reflection time? How do you ensure that every initiative connects back to a central purpose? 7. Building a coherent leadership team. No head teacher sees the system alone. A coherent leadership team acts as a prism, each member focusing on a different strand of the school, yet together creating clarity. Encourage your team to ask not how does this affect my area, but how does this contribute to the whole school? This subtle shift moves a school from silos to synergy. Strategies could include shared language around plans and values and priorities, cross-phase or cross-subject collaborations, joint reflection sessions connecting pastoral and curriculum leads, leadership meetings focused on coherence, not competition. Some questions. How does your current team think about the whole school? What behaviours or habits could you model to reinforce collective responsibility? How can you use distributed leadership to strengthen coherence, not complexity? 8. Reflection and application. Take 15 minutes to sketch your school through a strategic lens. Draw 3 overlapping circles labelled teaching, care and culture. In each circle, note current strengths and areas for development. In the intersections, write where they connect. For example, teaching and care, classroom relationships, SEND support, teaching and culture, professional learning, shared language of pedagogy, care and culture, could be inclusion, belonging, and staff well-being. In the centre, where all 3 overlap, write the one word that represents your moral core, the essence of your leadership purpose, e.g. flourish, belonging, trust, or dignity. And reflect, if this word guided every decision I make, how would my school look, feel, and function? This becomes the visual foundation of your head teacher's strategic lens. A reminder that systems succeed when they serve people, not the other way round. A closing thought. To see the whole school system is to move from managing improvement to leading coherence. It requires depth of vision and steadiness of heart. The ability to integrate academic excellence with emotional safety and operational rigour with relational trust. As a future head, you are not just coordinating departments, you are orchestrating a culture. Every element, teaching, care and culture, is a note in the same song. When teaching inspires, care protects, and culture uplifts, a school doesn't just perform, it flourishes. Your task is to hold all 3 in view, knowing that every decision you make shapes not only results, but lives. The accompanying workbook supports this reflective work, guiding you to articulate your values, shape your leadership purpose. Used thoughtfully, it will become a tool for grounding your leadership in conviction, ensuring that as roles change, the heart of your leadership remains clear and consistent. Thank you. And until next time, goodbye.